Hello, Sarah Sabin, transformational leadership and business coach here in my Leading in the Modern Way interview series. And I am really pleased to have with me here today Richard Wall, who is founder at Emex. Richard, welcome. And would you like to briefly introduce yourself in your own words to my listeners?
Yeah, I'm Richard Wall. I'm the CEO and founder of Emex. We're a sustainability and EHS software vendor. We're a small growing company. We've been through ups and downs over the years, and this year it's kind of getting better. But yeah, that's me. That's what we do. We have a great product team, great sales team, so we're doing well.
Cool, awesome. So I'd like to go back to the beginning of your journey because I know you've been running MX for about 13, 14 years now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you think back to when you first started it, what were the most significant challenges that you faced at the inception stage of your business, and how did you overcome those?
I think there's a wheel of challenges. Like, to be honest, there's getting the right people, acquiring your early stage customers who help you like prove out your hypothesis that there is a problem that you can solve.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get in and you start doing it, trying to keep your product and solving the problem aligned, because I think for a lot of vendors, including us, where you get caught is that you get a couple of large clients, they want to go in a direction, and it may not necessarily be the direction the whole market wants to go in. And you need to be very mindful of that. We've faced our challenges there in the past. I'm sure we will in the future, but that certainly has been an enlightening thing for us. Retaining and keeping people is also very, very challenging, and knowing who the right people are. We've definitely had our fair share of like good luck and bad luck on that front, where you just, learning how to manage people, retain them, and how to identify the high performers and how to identify weak performers, and how to make sure that the whole place is inclusive.
Mm. And what have you learned about how to identify those key high performers that really add a lot of value to your company?
I think the key high performers, it's an interesting one, like how you look at that. Before, it was always based on their prior work and CV. So you would see them coming in and you would be guessing that they might fit. But it's probably not as good a guide to I think it takes 6 months to a year to bed somebody into a position to help for them to understand where you're trying to go and how you're going about it. You got to be ready to listen to them with their complaints and their queries. But I think it takes that long to find out who the high performers are, because you will see who's going to stick the course. I think everyone, like, there's a lot of people who are what I call noise boxes. They arrive in and everything's wrong and they're going to change everything. I'd be very wary of those people now. I've been through a few and I'd be wary of that. What you're really looking for is consistency. And that's unfortunately often in short supply. So consistency and challenging things, but challenging in a constructive way. If you have people like that, you've got to actually work with them, listen to them, and you got to accept it. You got to grow with it. And they're the high performers in any business. I think the people who are consistent, diligent, and thinking of the customers and then mapping it back to what you're doing and making sure you're doing it well. And I know for me, even as a founder, CEO, you often don't like what they're saying, but you got to listen, because that's where you grow your business.
And I think you've picked up on a really interesting point. There's a difference between challenging the status quo because it is for the good of the business and the company, even if as a leader you don't always want to hear it, versus complaining and engaging in toxic behaviors.
Yeah, like, I mean, there really are, like, there are, it's that kind of goal setting versus goal getting people. Like, there are plenty, there is no short supply of talkers in this world. And people who will just talk and they've got great ideas and they've got great dreams and whatever, and none of it ever comes to fruition. And really, that's one of the things that, particularly in the last 2-3 years, as we've gone through some highs and lows, I've noticed is, there are more talkers than doers, and focus on the doers. The ones who are, yes, they might complain, but they do. They're the ones you want in the team. They're the ones you want in the battle, not the people who are always complaining and they have been somewhere else that it worked, but when confronted with what are you going to do about it, do nothing.
Yeah, so it's that piece around encouraging people to take autonomy and responsibility. I like the term radical self-responsibility for.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Sarah. I think, the high performers are radically self-responsible. That's what they do. But they also understand how to blend into a team. They're thinking of the greater good rather than themselves all the time.
Yeah, and I think, there's another point here around having a blend of skills on a team. So there is some value in having those big visionaries and dreamers, but often that can be accompanied with a lack of interest for the execution. So within a team, you need the people that are going to execute on the vision.
Yeah. And I think also, like, I mean, a lot of the big dreamers, like there are big dreamers who are able to get things into action, and there are big dreamers who are just wafflers and they never get anything done. They're troublesome, and they're not of use to your business and growing it. So you've got to really focus on, like, I mean, at the end of the day, we learned this the hard way in the last couple of years. It's the doing is everything. The talking is nothing, because talking gets you nowhere.
Yes. And looking inwards to yourself as the leader of Emex, how do you define strong leadership, and how do you show up for your team?
How do I define it? Well, I think strong leadership is like you are taking charge and doing the business yourself. And you're like, obviously you're multifaceted. You're able to do different things. So for me, it's about being able to lean into product, lean into sales, lean into customer success, lean into the different areas that need attention. And that's really where I think that's what you've got to be doing as a leader. You also have to be, like, I mean, whether you like it or not, you should be the hardest working man on the team. Or woman. Sorry, like you really have to be, there's no point in asking your team to do things you're not prepared to do yourself.
Yes, 100%. I think, that piece around modeling behaviors, and this also links back to what you said about just talking. People see what you do, not what you say others should do.
Yeah. So I think it's really important. I think that's it. You're like, everything should revolve around your work ethic, being as good as you can be, being questioning, helping, supporting others, but in a leadership role, people do, as you say, the teams you work with, they see it, your customers see it, and they expect more. They want the best. And, yes, I know a lot of people like working shorter hours, but really it is a long hours game, whether you like it or not. If you want to build a great company, expect to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Don't expect to work 8 hours a day. It doesn't work that way.
And do you expect the same of your team as well, that they work 12 hours a day, 6 days?
No, I don't. But I'd expect of the leadership team that they will work like longer hours than, I do. And it's not an expectation that I will make them do it. Of course, I will notice it. But like, yourself who is putting in the extra yards and who's not. And I think it's really important, particularly in an early stage business. It's very easy to kind of, like, and I know culture and times have changed, but it's very easy to get aligned with new thinking that, I don't want to do this the old way. I want to do it the easy way. There is no such thing as the easy way. Calling customers, writing proposals, designing product, managing teams, it's a lot of hours. And until you get funding, it's a lot of hours. And even when you get funding, it's a lot of hours. And I think, I think for anyone to say that there should be a balance. If you go into a leadership role, expect that balance to tilt a little in favor of work.
So within your company, how do you cultivate the kind of culture where your employees are valued and motivated and engaged so that they can perform at this level that you need them to?
But I think where we're lucky is that we're building products. So everybody is wedded to the idea of building great product and getting it into the market. So I think that's the kind of main driver, is that there's a mission. And we also know that we want to drive our sales, access funding. So the whole mission is around getting a return for our shareholders, getting access to money because we're good at what we do. We've really tilted that in the last 18 months. You know, I'd have to say we were doing a lot of things right and a lot of things wrong, but we've really refined it, particularly in the last 6 to 9 months. And it's that common goal. We know that we need to kind of sell a lot and make really good stuff to actually survive and get bigger. So
Mm,
that's what aligns is a common goal of wanting to be independent because we all enjoy building product. We all enjoy the control we get over it rather than working in a business where we're told that's the product you've got to sell.
mm. And
So I think that comes with that comes in many senses, and maybe that's easier in a product and a company that designs, develops, and engineers its own product than in a business that's just distributing someone else's product. Because we have such a vested interest in the product, there's an innate interest in what we do ourselves. Like, how can we do it better? God, it doesn't work. Can we do it better than the other guy? And we're going back, like re-engineering it and looking at how we can do that. And that's from both the design and process engineering side to development.
Mm. And I want to pick up on a couple of points here. So the mission driven part in the dynamics of high performing teams, having a sense of shared meaning is crucial to high performance.
Yeah.
And it's the piece that can be missing sometimes where people feel like they're just doing things and they don't understand how it contributes meaningfully to the whole. And the story that I love is it's a story of how someone goes into NASA and they ask the janitor there, what do you do? And he said, I'm contributing towards putting a man on the moon. And if you can get out of that detail and get a team fired up towards a big mission, it's much easier to get over all the hurdles and obstacles that come up as you're
Yeah. And you do
forward.
have obstacles. You have finance obstacles, you have payment. The list as a like founder, leader, and particularly as you're developing a business, there are issues you go through, financial and other. And it's if you have the team aligned to the goal, you can get them all to row into that.
Mm. And I think the other point here is coming back to the challenging the status quo, especially in product development. That is really important because otherwise, you know, people are unprepared to burn things down or fix things or start again if they need.
Yeah, well, you certainly, yeah, and you have to, like, I would agree with you. You have to really encourage that culture. If something doesn't work and it's wrong, put it in the bin and redo it. Obviously, as a sales organization, you keep on selling it, but you have a migration strategy for your correct answer when you come up with it. And that's the idea, like running a product strategy rather than kind of buying several different little products and adding them together. Like we're great believers in like a single platform, single way of doing things rather than just being a private equity aggregated load of like what we don't want to be, which is just a load of small technical debt ridden companies.
Mm. And I love that you had that really clear idea of what you want as well,
Yeah.
because again, that's so important in personal motivation.
Yeah, well, we do. It's really good. Like, and I think the team share it. Like, we believe that customers are better served by a single, very good platform than by a private equity owned business that has 20 platforms, all looking slightly different to each other and doesn't really build or develop them properly.
Mm,
So we know we're on the right track.
yeah. And I'm curious to understand more, Richard, about how you've invested in yourself as a leader and what steps you take to make sure that you're continuing to evolve and grow.
Well, probably not enough is the honest to God truth. Like, I mean, it's daily work, and I would call it like obviously I trained with Anderson many years ago, and like I learned a lot there, and a lot of it then is on the job. You know, I learned from the people I work with as well because they often have ideas which run counter to mine in terms of how to do things and how to lead, and they're often correct.
Mm. How do you deal with the emotional process around someone's ideas being counter to yours?
Well, that's part of life. Like, I mean, some of them you accept, and some of them you don't accept. You know, you have to really just You know, that's really comes down to kind of a bit of like stargazing almost, like what do I think of this? But you got to be open to like some being right and some being wrong.
Mm.
And
It's
that's, I guess, that's what you're asked to do as a leader. You've got to make decisions. So at
yeah,
some point in your life, you're going to have to get off the table and say, this is what I think, and this is how we're doing it.
absolutely. And what I find interesting about a lot of people is they say they like challenge, but when it comes down to it, it evokes an emotional response in them. But as you say, challenge is just challenge. As CEO of a company, you have ultimate decision making
Yeah.
responsibility. And, you know, again, companies can get so stuck where decisions aren't taken. And in fact, I'd say that would be one of the biggest contributing factors to companies not moving forward, where people just, where the CEO, where the leadership team can't take those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. You do get caught in a vortex. I've been caught where you don't take decisions on time,
Mm.
and it's expensive and messy, but you've got to kind of, you got to learn from it, try not doing it the next time. But the faster you can take a decision, the better off you are. But equally, there's no point in just taking fast knee-jerk decisions because you think that's the right answer, because you may destroy a lot of value without knowing what you're at. So decisions are great, but they need to be measured based on kind of a number of factors rather than a single factor.
And how do you find that balance between quick decision making and making a rational decision?
It's difficult. You get better at it, not better at it. You get slightly better at it as you're longer doing it, but it's challenging, and there's no kind of right or wrong blend here. It's really just um you've obviously got your gut and you can analyze things on pieces of paper. You can talk to one or two people, but after that, you've got to actually make the decision.
Mm, mm. And I like that you've mentioned these two pieces. There's the gut feeling and then there's the rational mind.
Yeah,
And the two work well together. Because I mean, I like to ask this question. Tell me an example of when you've made a decision which went completely against your gut instinct and it went well. And I've yet to meet a person that was like, yeah, that happens to me all the time. The absolute best way to do it is to combine the rational and the more intuitive.
yeah, I would agree.
Okay, and final question. If you could go back in time, what piece of advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Nothing really. Like, sorry, what would I give myself? I'd say be open to doing things. Sorry, I'm trying to think, what would I do? It would mainly be, keep work very, very hard. Always have a goal or a set of goals and a set of like an objective. There's some kind of overarching vision of where you want to be. Try achieving those goals piece by piece, but wake up every day and try and get something done.
Mm,
Try and tie it all together seamlessly into a bigger vision or arch. But the main thing is doing things all the time.
yes. And I want to actually just clarify that point or nuance that point. And it comes back to something you said about consistency. It is better to do small things consistently every day than to not bother setting goals, or to set lofty goals and then not do
Absolutely, yeah.
anything at all.
Yeah. No, no, like I mean it's kind of like they do say, what are those phrases? Like, I mean, dreams without goals are really just dreams, and that is true.
Mm, yeah.
Waste of
And
time.
ideas are to a penny.
No, no, like I'm going to build a company worth £1 billion. If you don't really have a way of thinking through how you're going to do it, don't bother.
Yeah. Go big or go home.
Yeah. Well, no, even if it's 50 million, it doesn't matter what your business size is, but at least try and, say, I want to get to here. How am I going to do it?
Yeah. I mean, quantum is different to different people. Some people that might be 1 million, 2 million might be enough. For
Yeah, no,
others, it
no, the
will be a
quantum is
billion.
irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just where do I want to get to and what do I need to do to get there? And then you've got to work on that. And so I would say consistency and discipline are absolutely vital.
Wise words, Richard. And thank you so much for having this
No,
conversation
pleasure.
with me today.
Okay.
So I hope you, my listeners, enjoyed this conversation. If you would like to take part in the Leading in the Modern Way video interview series, let me know. Thank you and bye.